Hi, it's the quirky quilter, Lorraine. Have you ever gotten into a quilting funk where you just were so overwhelmed by how many blocks are out there, how many choices there are, and sometimes that's too many choices? Well, last year that happened to me, and I went into my sewing room, and around February I was like, I'm done. I had a big job to do, so I just closed the door and left all my friends for like a whole year. One of the things I learned when I was in art school was sometimes you have to challenge yourself to and force yourself to think outside the box. Kind of like how you have a writer's block, well, you can get quilt block as well. So one of the things that I did was I took an old vintage quilting, basically dictionary that I had. I bought an extra copy off of eBay, and I cut them all up. And I put them all in a mystery glass vase. And one of the things that I like to do is I really like a quilt that is not the same block repeated over and over and over again. I really like a much more complicated quilt where maybe there's 3 or 4 different kinds of blocks. But one of the things I haven't done is really deep dive into vintage blocks that are basically the foundation of all the stuff that we do now. So I thought it'd be kind of cool if I started making, with my little vase, pull out 2 random blocks and have to build a quilt. So it's like you're forcing yourself to set some parameters for your creative process, and it kind of forces you sometimes to think outside the box. So in order to test if this was going to be any fun or not, I did pull my first 2. And so I pulled the first 2 blocks, and I'll show them to you. Oops. And I got to building. I went to my stash. I used part of it as scrappy, and I basically built a quilt, and it kind of got the juices flowing to where I was like, wow, I forgot how much fun this is, and I got excited, and I started like looking through my stuff, and so, sometimes you have to do something to get you out of that funk, because if this is your hobby, you want to keep doing it, and you have to find ways to stimulate that, just like any artist does, because these are works of art. So let me show you what I came up with, and then I'll demonstrate each one of the blocks by sewing. I have one left of each block, and I'll show you the demonstration on how to sew it together, and I'll show you what I came up with. So here it is, all laid out. The best way I found that these 2 blocks work together is to put them on point, give them some sashing, some breathing room, and to create only 6 of the baskets and 12, is it 12? Yeah, 3, 6, 9, 12 of the spinning blocks. They do have names, and I wrote it down, and I'm not sure why I put them, but I will get it into this video, what they're called. And so I'm now going to sew the last 2. I'm not going to demonstrate how to make a half square triangle. There's a million videos on that. It's a pretty simple thing to do, so you can go look that up. 2 at a time, half square triangles. And then after I demonstrate those 2 blocks, I'm going to put the whole thing together on point. Okay? So basically it's just all half square triangles. You can see these 2 were 2 triangles together. These 2 were 2 triangles. You'll see them, around. Plus I mixed them up with the other blocks. Same with these, the same, and then just white squares. So basically I'm just going to sew this together, and I'll probably speed it up so you can see it. For this particular block, you want to sew these outside legs together first. You want to make these 3, and then you want to put these 2 together, and then just sew these in rows. Attach these all together, and then just put this guy on the end. So I'm going to do that now. And here it is. So, I only have the pinwheel to go. And I'm going to go put this up on the board. And I'll be back to sew the pinwheel. So this is the second block. And it is just an 4x4 patch. So it's 16 squares. You just sew it together. Sew these together. Press in one direction. Sew these together. Press in the other direction. So that way all your seams will nest going all the way down, and that way you'll have a nice flat block when you're finished. If you're interested in what these little things are, they're leader enders. And I will explain what they are in another video, but I hate wasting thread. And so I'm always working on a secondary leader ender quilt with my scraps. Oh, and look, I lost the game of Bob and Chicken. And the machine did not tell me that I had run out. Thank you, machine. And here it is. I'm not aiming for perfection. Life is too short. It is what it is. These are just my scraps. Just having fun. I'm not trying to enter a contest and win thousands of dollars. So don't stress on some of this or sweat the small stuff. It's just not worth it. From 5 feet, nobody's going to see if your corners are not perfectly in line. Anyways, so now I'm going to put the whole thing together. Well, here it is all done. It was really fun to put together. It was fun to use blocks that I'm not normally drawn to. A really special thing was my ability to use this fabric here. I'm not sure if you can see it. It's the border. It's a really fascinating fabric. It's by RJR Fabrics, and it's called their Cotton and Steel where they have special designers that from around the world. This young lady happens to be a designer out of Japan, and it's a little bit heavier than a quilting fabric, but they're calling it a canvas, but it's nowhere as heavy as a canvas. But it was one of those fabrics that I got in a bag of stuff at a Goodwill. And I thought, God, how am I ever going to use that and integrate it into a quilt? This is the quilt for this pattern. So every fabric has a quilt. You just never know when it's going to pop up. So because this is directional, I put all the flowers facing up, and I actually split it in the center here, and it kind of weighs a lot, so it's pulling down my design board. I split it in the center here and at the bottom so that the flowers come together. I only thought of that idea after I had actually started cutting the strips, and I had a limited amount, so we should have moved this up a teeny bit. The actual blocks themselves, this is the book that they came out of that I talked about in the beginning of the video. It's this Quilting and Patchwork Dictionary. Came out in 1988. That's how long I had this book. It is Pinwheel 1 was this block here, and the other one is Flower Basket 1, which is this one here. So if you want to get this book, I've seen it on eBay. If you want to follow along, we've got like 100 quilts to go with as many blocks as they have in here. So the last thing that we're going to do, before I'm going to give you a close-up of this with the camera, not on the stand. The last thing we need to do is randomly choose what is going to be the next 2 blocks that we're going to pull out, because it's a mystery. Who knows what I'm going to get? So there's one, and there's 2. So some of these are not even the same like grid size layout. So, oh, I got a random patched one, which you kind of use these a lot with Irish chains, if you do like a double or something. And then I got, oh, this one is going to be tricky too. So here's the 2 for next time. Oh, gotta go over here. Here's the 2 for next time. That's going to be a lot of pieces. So we'll see what I come up with and what color palette I decide to use. And it's going to be exciting. Alrighty, enjoy the close-up. See you next time.